a 10 out of 10 masterpiece for The Last of Us Part 2 is a fucking joke.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
Now, for those that know, my Go Fuck Your Death Stranding review, was a decent video, and I don't want this to be in the same vein. This is to call out IGN and not The Last of Us Part 2, so we're going to focus on that. This is a fake review. The article by Jonathan Dornbush is well written. It's not written with the reader in mind. It is very much written for his other colleagues to have high regards for his writing style, and I think this video really encapsulates that idea and really shows that IGN reviews, however the most popular they are, have just taken a turn for the worst, and this is a paid review. I'm going to play this clip from Alana Pierce. She's an ex-IGN employee, and she pulls back the veil on IGN 10 out of 10 game reviews, and she does say something rather interesting here.
Myself included, who care so much more about their own integrity and how their peers view their integrity than they care about publishers. Quickly jumping back in here on this note, because I feel like I phrased what I said poorly initially. This is my biggest criticism of games journalism, is that I do think in a lot of cases writers write things for their peers rather than for the audience. While that still means they're being honest, it does mean that we have all of these reviewers who, in the case of The Last of Us, are buying into high art.
This game sucks. There's no doubt about it. I will be playing it, but it's the fact that I'm able to call out this fake review, and I'm sure you have as well, and the fact that we're not outcrying a little bit more about fake reviews, especially from the biggest source of reviews. Most people get their scores from IGN. It's interesting that Kotaku had some negative things to say about the game, and positive, but overall the experience was rather bad. And I'm not talking about The Last of Us 2 here, I'm talking about IGN's bias. And I'm going to prove a little bit of that bias from a very interesting article they wrote not too long ago. As you'll see, there are some inconsistencies, but there's one big consistency that we should take notice of. Crash Bandicoot, beloved series, first game gets a 7.5, and then every game after that gets a higher score. Crash Team Racing gets an 8.5. I want you to realize that Crash Team Racing got an 8.5 out of 10, while Death Stranding got a 6.8. How does that make any fucking sense? It doesn't. Jak and Daxter, one of my favorite franchises, 9.4, 9.5, 9.6. Combat Racing gets an 8. Now you might say, oh well, that didn't go up. I'm not counting spin-off titles here. I'm not counting little racing games as part of the trajectory of always getting a higher score. There will be an exception to this later on. Uncharted is that exception. The first game got a 9.1, however, the UK review gave it an 8.4. There will be discrepancies between UK and AU and IGN proper. That's what we're going to call IGN, because these kind of reviews seem to be in line with what the majority of people are going to give the game, but because it's Naughty Dog and IGN have a relationship, IGN proper will always give it a higher score. AU, again, lower than the original score. 9.5 for Uncharted 2. The AU gave it a 9.5 and the UK gave it a 9. Those were a little closer there. Now, I don't know what happened. Maybe AU and UK got the memo that they can't just give, basically a point difference in their review score, that IGN as a whole needs to be more unified, or Naughty Dog came slanging their very tiny penis and made them change their scores. But it would have seemed at that point that UK and AU would have been more honest. Now, Uncharted 2 is a very good game. Let's not think that I'm saying that these are bad games. I'm just saying that how come every game, every mainline title in the franchises from Naughty Dog get better? I understand. That is what we all want. We want our series to get better over time. But to think that they've never made a slip up, not one time, in all of the games they released, either means they're being super safe in what they create, or they paid off IGN, or it could be a combination of both, honestly. We're not going to count some, spin-offs and collections and whatever. We skip over that stuff. The Last of Us original got a 10, deserved. They're pretty unquestionably that this game does get a 10 out of 10, if not a high 9.5, only because the combat did need a little bit more. However, it was very good, and I would give it a 10 as well. So how can you go up from a 10? Well, you can't. It's either you get a 10, and then the next game, as you'll see with Uncharted 4, gets a 9. Now, the reason Uncharted 4 gets a 9 is because it was bad writing. To write in this, mystery brother that we've heard nothing about for 3 games, it was bad, and they did notice that. And maybe at this point in time, IGN was hesitant to give not only Uncharted 3, which was supposedly the last game in the franchise. At that point, that was it. It was over. Uncharted 4 comes out, and they give it a 9. Maybe they were hesitant, but they are no longer hesitant to show that they are in cahoots here. Again, we're not counting spin-offs, with The Last of Us Part 2 getting another 10 out of 10. So The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 get a 10 out of 10. I find that very hard to believe. And you should too. I mean, their relationship goes back decades now, and it's become quite apparent with this rather shitty review. I'm not questioning someone's opinion about a game, but this review, which should be objective in some sense of the word, just isn't. This sounds and reads like someone who's just sucking the cock, very small cock, of Naughty Dog.